We had been doing video all through the 70s. So you think of video today, well, you can make a video on your phone, and it's much better quality than what we were working with, because we were doing half-inch black and white portable video. So if you can picture portable video, this is what it meant then, 1970, 35-pound deck connected by a cable to an 8-pound camera. That was portable video. We were excited about it. And what we did is we traveled around the country. Dean and I lived in a half-size school bus, and we gave birth to our second daughter in the bus, and we lived in the bus with our kids. But really what we were doing is we were videotaping this emerging consciousness that was happening in the 70s. So maybe some of you are of our generation, but others of you are younger and weren't around then necessarily doing that. But it was fascinating, learning from Native Americans, learning from Indian gurus and environmentalists. But at the end of the 70s, we had no way to distribute them because there were actually only about 200 video playback decks in the whole country. So predating VCRs, predating DVDs, predating YouTube, predating every other distribution system that you can imagine. So when we got those 50 orders for the cassette tapes at the Ramdas lecture, we thought, well, you know what, maybe we should sidetrack over to the music thing.
I was doing music all the time anyway. It wasn't like we decided to become musicians all of a sudden.
You were a recording engineer too.
Yes, I was a recording engineer. I went to grad school to become a molecular biologist because my music teacher said, don't try and make your living as a musician, it's too difficult. So I listened to him. And the thing is that I was a National Science Foundation fellowship. I had could do research on science and all that kind of stuff. But I found myself spending 4/5 of my time with a folk group, a rock group that I created, and doing film scores for an art professor.
This old man, he was an old man, he was probably maybe 60, 75. But anyway, he seemed old at the time. But he's doing yoga. He's kind of upside down, his legs wrapped around his neck and everything. So we're standing out there by our garden and we're going, okay, so let me lean back. And then we went into the city, we went into Manhattan, and we would take classes. And that's where we first really did the total relaxation stuff.
Yeah, it was amazing to lie down on a mat and hear this helpful words say, let go of all your tension in your whole body. Start with your feet. And, so I've been a busy boy for years. And it was such an amazing thing to know that you could actually relax in your body and enjoy it. And it opened up a whole different world to me.
The body rigid and stressed out, the beta mind anyway, the busy mind. But as we learn how to relax, which is what all meditation and yoga is all about, and Qigong and various other modalities, bringing the body into a restful, peaceful state allows the body's own system to repair itself. And it also allows us to empty out the thought and the mind patterns that we put on ourselves, which then become physical patterns in our body. And when we're all worried about stuff, it translates back into our physical systems.
The music, because we're playing at a very slow pace. I mean, we have moved into a lot of more world rhythms now, but in the early days, most of our music was this very slow pace music. So what that did is it helped entrain the breath rate, it helped entrain the heart rate, it helped entrain the digestive system. So you're getting that slowing down of the processes from that very speeded up beta mind, which our society tends to stay in. And we want to go more into the alpha state. And
the alpha state, and the beauty of the alpha state is that it is the relaxed state of the body. There's actually a frequency that is parallel in the Earth itself, in the cavity of the Earth itself, 7.83 cycles per second, which is called the Earth resonance frequency. And that is a place of natural repose, natural beauty. And, as you go into nature, you can kind of breathe, take a deep breath and relax a bit because you're getting into that.
It was fascinating about a yogi we'd never heard of, but he's so important. His name is Krishnamacharya. And what he did, we assume that yoga was fairly new in this country in the 20th century. But it was also very unavailable or not very popular in India even. So this man decided to really bring yoga out of the caves. Because at that time it had been an ancient tradition, but it was only practiced by a few yogis living up in caves in the Himalayas. So he went up there and he studied for 7 years in the caves with these yogis and learned, I think, probably 3,000 asanas. Asana just simply being a yoga posture. But what he also noticed is that he really worked with the breath. The breath was important. So that it wasn't just that, like I say, in this country we think of yoga as almost like a physical thing. It's going to get you in shape. But in India, as Dean said, it was all about preparing the body for you kind of releasing the physical energy, so then you're ready to calm the mind.
The Earth has that resonant frequency. It actually was calculated by a mathematician called Schumann, not the composer, but a mathematician, before it was actually measured. But these days it has been measured, and it is at the basic frequency is at 7.83 cycles per second, and there are harmonics, which are actual multiples of that frequency that go up higher also. But the primary one is that frequency. So what's the big deal about that frequency? Well, the reality is we're all bathed in that frequency constantly. There's this rumble, and it's subauditory, which means it's below hearing level. It's what our body feels. And it's set off by thunderstorms around the world, and it travels far distances. It is the frequency that the whales and dolphins use to communicate with. It is the frequency that crickets use to communicate with.
So one of the tools that we have is our breath. Typically, we breathe about a third of our lung capacity. So if you've noticed, if you're in a fear space or you're anxious in any way, worried, you may find that you're not even breathing at all. You're just barely breathing. You're taking little tiny breaths. So what we want to do is we want to learn to breathe deeply and fully.
But one of the things he said, which I love, he says, when you breathe in, imagine God is approaching you. When you hold your breath, imagine God is within you. When you exhale, imagine that you are approaching God. And when you hold your exhalation, imagine you are remaining within God. But then, of course, it starts over and God comes back to you. So that's what breath is all about. The word prana in Sanskrit means life force, it means breath, it means fire, it means so many different things. But the very fact that we cannot live without it means that it is about life. I remember when I was studying natural childbirth years ago, or over 40 years ago, it was brand new, Lamaze, and what is it like? You're in contract. And I remember we were just getting into yoga at the same time. And I went, oh my goodness, what the women are learning to do have their babies is the same thing as what the yogis are teaching.